How's it going? I'm Evan Arkin,
And filling in for Greg Pelican, I'm Caleb Myers.
and we're here to see a match between Charles Bryant and Dillon Day. Charles is on a junk mid-range reanimation strategy.
Yeah, basically Reanimator without the cards to make it smooth.
Right. So he's got a bunch of good mid-range creatures in there to sort of protect from some of the more aggressive decks in the format, but his top end is certainly a reanimating deck.
Yep.
With Angel Serenities and Grizzlebrands. And
Yep, your standard Reanimator players.
right. And Dillon is on what now, Caleb?
He's on a Naya aggro with a little
Okay.
bit of a heavier top end than you'd usually see.
Right. I mean,
So close to a mid-range, but definitely can be aggressive. In this match, he'll probably be the aggressor.
right. Do you know what kind of top end we're talking about here?
There's definitely Thrag Tusks for sure.
Okay. Well, yeah.
I would guess Thundermaw Hellkites.
Oh wow.
The traditional
Big.
solid 5 drops.
Yeah. Right. Okay, but does he go above 5? Do you know?
Not sure about that.
All right. I guess we'll find out. But as you just said, Dillon's definitely aggressor here. I mean, the reanimation targets in standard right now are really, really strong, and can pretty much go over the top of any strategy.
Absolutely. Angel of Serenity is backbreaking on one, but the second one, oh boy.
Yeah, and even against control and decks with removal, I mean, once you start chaining creatures together, as a player who plays Reanimator myself, the truth of it is that you actually hardcast about 50% of your threats in that deck, mainly because you maybe reanimate once, but by the time they deal with that threat effectively, you're kind of in the late game, and you start hardcasting all of the things that are coming back to your hand.
Absolutely. That's why Thragtusk for sure is a fantastic card in that deck.
Mm-hmm. Now, Charles' opening hand, I see a Arbor Elf.
Loxodon Smiter?
You right? Yeah, so
Yep.
there's an example of sort of the mid-range creature from the reanimating deck.
So Charles went turn 1 Forest and did not play his Arbiter Elf. I feel like he missed his draw step there.
Yeah, it looks...
Might be a little bit of nerves here. This is a top 8 match, feature match here.
Yeah, he definitely should have played that Arbor Elf turn 1.
Yeah.
But because he could have had Loxodon Smiter this turn. Turn 2 Loxodon Smiter is a,
yeah, it's a pretty quick clock.
Pretty quick. It's pretty big butt right there. What else does he have? Lingering Souls in his hand?
Lingering Souls
and a Lotleth Troll.
So we are definitely a little more aggressive than your average.
He doesn't have a Plains or a Swamp to have that Isolated Chapel come into play untapped. So he's going to play it now tapped.
And there's the Smiter.
There's the Smiter turn late.
Yep. Just when you need him.
Dillon drew Restoration Angel, but is opting to Oblivion Ring the Loxodon Smiter and
get in
down.
for one.
Mm-hmm. It's a good play right there. Knowing when you can just kind of attack for free is important.
Yeah.
In these kind of grindy matchups.
See another
Loxodon Smiter, and he's gonna beat him with his Arbor Elf. So duel of the Mana Dorks at the moment. Kessig Wolfrun from the Naya player.
Is that a Huntmaster?
A Huntmaster Thragtusk Angel in his hand.
It's pretty steep.
Yeah, and then there's the Thragtusk putting out to 24 and shutting down Charles' aggression.
Yep. Charles is gonna need something good.
Mm-hmm. And by the looks of it, Charles's deck is pretty light on the reanimation theme. He's definitely got it in there, but he's not just pure with Formal or Faithless Looting for Grizzlies. He's not even playing red. So.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a faster tempo, more aggro strategy than you would usually see out of a reanimation deck.
Right.
So it looks like Charles pondering an attack here. Don't think that's good for him.
Yeah, I mean, Dillon would love to trade a Thragtusk for
an actual body.
Yeah. Oh, and Dillon top decked Bonfire, put it into his hand, and then immediately withdrew it because he had it in the same hand.
I think this is a situation where Charles, if he wanted to, could call a judge.
Yes, he could call a judge. At this level of rules enforcement, he's opting not to, and that's perfectly fine.
Yep.
Dillon wasn't doing anything fishy there. He just sort of forgot. It never left the hand he drew the card with.
Correct. It did touch the rest of his cards.
Touched the rest of his hand, though, which means technically it was part of his hand.
Yep. From a judge's perspective, that would be impossible to tell the difference between that card and the card that he drew that turn. So.
Right. And if you're fast with the sleight of hand, that's certainly not something to be looked over.
So might have a little bit of nerves here from Charles.
Right.
You see,
or maybe he's just being a good guy. So what was that? A chromatic lantern? I can't really tell because
I think that's a chromatic lantern.
Right.
He put it down with his land.
The glare is keeping us from seeing it, but a 3-mana card that goes near your lands was probably assumably
chromatic.
Yeah, it's a chromatic lantern, I'm guessing.
So Charles is gonna there's a second Oblivion Ring coming down. Clearing the way for Thragtusk.
O-Ring is pretty good right now in the format.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good targets, Reanimator targets, Planeswalkers running around.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And Detention Sphere is...
We see Dillon leaving mana up. I think we saw a Restoration Angel in his hand. We did. I think end of turn.
That's backbreaking on Thragtusk.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful synergies we've seen in a long time.
By far. Looks like Charles's line is probably just Lingering Souls Flashback.
I mean, in the most recent standard environment, just Blade Splicer Restoration Angel is enough to win games out of nowhere.
Absolutely.
And Thragtusk Restoration Angel goes a bit farther than that.
Yep.
Yep, so he's going to go up to 29 life and get a 3/3 and a 3/4 flyer.
Not looking good for Charles. He's in a steep hole here.
He needs Angel Serenity
right now.
Immediately. And he could hardcast it, and then if he has another land and Angel, but he doesn't have a hand.
I think Charles may be dead here.
Oh, yep, he's at 8. He's swinging with everything.
The trample from that Keswick Wolf run is going to put this game away.
Well, let's see. How would he...
He's going to Keswick, yep. The Thragtusk.
And...
that should be lethal with Charles at 5.
Yep, that should be 8 exactly, actually. He blocked the 3/3 with another...
Yep.
Yeah, that's...
All right, we see him scooping it up and going into game 2.
Yeah, so Charles, if I were Charles, I'd want to have a more focused reanimation strategy against these type of decks. Like I said, I play Reanimator right now a bit, and against decks without blue mana, you really just want to be as efficient at your game plan as possible.
Absolutely.
Because they can't stop you from executing, and when you execute, you're just over the top.
Yeah, this main deck aggro strategy would be good against some decks, but against Dillon, he is definitely not the aggressor.
Right, and it's kind of a metagame call if you have more of a main deck aggression or not.
Absolutely.
I play the version of Reanimator with red in it for Faithless Looting amongst other sideboard options.
The 4C Frights deck.
4-color Frights. French Rights, for those of you who don't know what that stands for, because the French was the first team to invent that at one of the Pro Tours, Barcelona or something.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Playing cards like Tracker's Instinct and Mulch. Fortunately, with the printing of Grizzly Salvage, we don't have to embarrass ourselves anymore.
No, Tracker's Instinct's pretty awkward when you only hit one thing and it's your target and it has to go into your hand.
Yep. That has been embarrassing.
It certainly has been. But yeah, so...
what do you think we see out of the sideboard here from Dillon?
Well, if he has dedicated reanimation hate, there could be cards such as Purify the Grave.
Yep.
Rest in Peace would be backbreaking. Those white really has the cards that deal with that.
Yeah, it has a whole suite of cards.
I mean, he could play Ground Seal out of green, but I feel like Rest in Peace is probably what he. So Charles, I see put in Deathrite Shamans. I'm not really sure about that one.
It doesn't do that much in this matchup.
It's just like a awkward Grim Lavamancer in this matchup where you can gain some life, but it's never blocking profitably, and
maybe he's just hoping to hit more of his Grizzly Salvages and get off to a faster reanimator start.
It can gain 2 every turn for him, but that's really not... You don't want to dilute your deck with the effects that are that inconsistent in this type of matchup. Deathrite Shaman, however, amazing in some matchups.
Yeah.
Any deck with blue in it,
it's fantastic.
In the mirror match,
that 2 is going to be hitting off and off all the time.
In the reanimation mirror match, when I was playtesting this Frights deck against you, Caleb Myers, Deathrite Shaman was a big pain for you.
I don't seem to recall that.
No?
No.
Of course not.
It doesn't ring a bell.
No bells. No bells were rung.
So I didn't see, did Dillon go back to his sideboard? Is he thinking, I've handled that pretty well, I'll just run it back, see what happens? He likes his chances.
I see Sever Bloodline in there.
Maybe he just didn't see enough of Charles's actual deck, the reanimation half of it, to know what's going on here. Maybe he thinks I'm just playing against some sort of junk aggro deck here.
Aggro deck.
Yep.
Yeah.
Charles is in the tank there.
And maybe we won't see any of Charles' reanimation. You never know. He could be over that quickly.
I mean, with
Charles is contemplating a Sever the Bloodline.
I don't mind to Sever the Bloodline here.
Yeah, it seems all right.
It's reasonable. It still doesn't do much against Drag Tusk.
No, but
it's a decent removal spell. If he's light on removal, he may have to bring it in.
But I definitely saw Barrel Rights being looked at from Charles. I'm not sure. I don't think he's going to take them out, but he was contemplating them. I definitely think you keep them all in this.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to go over the top here.
Definitely. Oh, and on a side note, those little green numbers up at the top are the seeding.
They're the players' seeding. So Dillon, at the end of the 12-week Friday Night Magic season, was ranked first.
And Charles
Bryant was ranked 8th. And being as this plays like a sports bracket, first place 8th and second place 7th and so on.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we're seeing right here is round 1.
Yep.
From the top 8. All right, let's see.
Both players happy with their decks.
Yeah, and Charles is definitely going to choose to play first.
Yep.
There are, interestingly enough, situations for the Reanimator deck where you could contemplate drawing. That almost never happens in Standard, but I've done it before. You never want to do it game 1 against an unknown opponent because you just lose immediately to aggressive decks.
Yeah, you see Mountain Unleashed, Cackler.
Dead.
Yeah.
Right. But in some of the more grindy matchups, the decks that react to what you're doing, that really don't do anything until you do something, having an extra card on them is sometimes helpful.
Right.
Just a little side note there. It's some players take it as a law or just an assumption that playing first is always correct.
Right.
But that's not actually true. You just almost always play first.
Okay, so from Dillon, might be a mulligan here. He's got an awkward mana hand. Looks like he is waiting for Charles to decide. Charles is
mulliganing.
Pitching it back. Is he keeping that? I think I saw a colorless land, a
Clifftop
Retreat, and then maybe one more mana in his hand.
And in a deck that plays mana dorks and early green spells, you're really looking for that green mana.
Might be a bit of a rough keep.
But it looks like he's keeping it.
Yeah. He's gonna
run it.
Do a little heat check here and see how he's running tonight.
Yeah. Tempt fate, as it were.
Yeah. Didn't get a good look at Charles's hand, but apparently he was good enough to check, or bad enough to check back.
I think I was a bit mana light. So there's 6. Let's see what he pulls. I see Mulch, Lingering Souls.
Is that land free there?
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Looks like he's going
no
5.
lands. Wow.
We might not even
this
see
could
any
be a quick match.
Rights.
Yeah.
Yeah, this might just be really fast. The 3-color reanimation decks, more consistent mana, but prone to, as we're seeing here, kind of the schizophrenia of their strategy sometimes is a little awkward.
I mean, not having the extra draw and discard engines really hurts them.
Yep. And the mana base on the 4-color version it can be awkward at times, but surprisingly,
with Return to Ravnica, really, really helping this deck out.
Yeah.
Smoothing out its mana base.
And you just have to make smart mulligan decisions, and normally you can make it work.
Yeah, with a deck that has such a powerful effect on such a low amount of mana, you can mulligan pretty easily at least once.
You're right. In fact, the 4-color deck, if you had to take an uneducated guess at how many lands a deck of that style would normally play, a deck with those kind of spells,
I'd say 23.
You are absolutely right. Yeah. But that's a lot lower than most people would guess.
Yeah. And we see a hand from Charles that has
one land.
It's an overgrown tomb. It's got a troll,
double Lingering Souls,
and an angel.
So very
loose, but I don't think he can go to 4.
And he's going to have to pass back. No lands.
I think, not sure, but I think Dillon may have ripped that Rootbound Craig to give him the green mana he needed.
He might have ripped a Bonfire Dam, actually.
He had that Bonfire in his opener.
Oh, did he? Okay.
There's a mountain. You see...
I think he's going to O-ring here. Yeah.
Yeah. Get that first threat off the board.
Yeah, and that's certainly a good O-ring target. A lot with Troll getting out of hand really fast in some decks.
So Lingering Souls come down.
You know what I might have done in response to the Oblivion Ring? I might have discarded my Angel strategy.
That makes perfect sense. You're not hard casting it.
Yeah, anytime soon, and your only hope is to snap up an
especially with this deck not having the red in it, you have very few ways to actually discard it.
Right. So a small misplay maybe there from Charles not responding with a discard of the Angel.
Comes down a Luxodon Smiter.
Well, that's not getting in for any damage anytime soon. There's a wall of spirit tokens going to be happening. So we're going to see main phase Grizzly Salvage. Trying to find a land, I'm assuming.
Yep.
One. There's a Mulch, Forest, Absence Pilgrim,
Woodland Cemetery, and
Arbor Elf. Probably taking the Woodland Cemetery here. Yeah, that makes sense.
So you can play it.
Yep, and flashback Lingering Souls, I'm assuming.
Yep.
You might as well beat him for 2.
Efficient mana here.
If he's doing that, he should attack for 2, just to put some pressure on.
I think players are conferring about mana here.
Yeah.
Fairly certain Charles hasn't made a land drop.
No, because he hard cast a Lingering Souls last turn.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what the confusion is here, but
yeah, so
they get
the players
confirmation
get it right.
from a judge, and here comes that Lingering Souls flashback.
Right. And let's hope Charles attacks for 2. There we go.
There we go.
There we go. Making the correct attack.
I'm fairly certain we're going to see a bonfire for 1, maybe 2 if he has nothing else to do this turn, just to clear the way.
Looks, I see Garruk Wildspeaker in Dillon's hand.
Yep.
But he bonfires for 2.
I don't think he has the green mana for that Garruk.
No, he does not.
And
then he's going to go down
18
to 14.
And then 14. Did he just move his dice to 16?
Yes, he did.
Oh, okay.
So this is a life discrepancy.
Yep.
It's on, as from a judging perspective, it's the obligation of both players
to
notice that.
Right. Because they're using, I'm not sure if they're using separate sources besides those large dice that are here for our benefit.
It doesn't look like it.
That means that both players should be able to keep track.
It would be very bad if a judge were to get involved at this point for Charles. Moving his die
this early in the game, he would receive a warning and he would lose that 2 life.
Yes.
Retroactively. But if it were to come out that, he won the game with that life total,
then he would receive a game loss, probably.
Yeah. Which at that point would be a match loss.
Yes, a match loss.
So we see Huntmaster come down.
Let's hope that they realize it.
Yeah.
So he's drawing another Angel here. And this is a situation in which not discarding that Angel really hurts Charles, because now if he had an Angel in the board, in his graveyard, he is live to draw a land on Burial Rites and just take over the game at any point.
So we see Lingering Souls flashback and then Lingering Souls.
Yep, no Detention Sphere in Dillon's deck, just Oblivion Ring. So the only thing he's worried about is Bonfire, and Charles is choosing to try to close the game, I think, quickly with his army of flyers, but
just past the turn there, I think I like an attack.
Yeah, certainly. At least for 2.
Is that another bonfire there, or what are we seeing?
Yeah, it looks like he has the green mana for Garruk.
There's that bonfire.
The bonfire. Wow, backbreaking.
Yeah, that's a huge play there.
Powerful card. So he's gonna Dillon's taking 2 off a Shockland to have enough mana to cast.
I'm not actually sure why he took that damage. I can't see what his hand is.
He doesn't have enough mana to activate that township.
Nope.
So it's not for that reason.
And there's a 1 mana guy off my Shocklands.
And
all right, a little bit of a misplay there.
A little bit of a misplay. Maybe he accidentally thought he had enough mana to activate.
Yep.
Or is that's not a township, that's a wolf run, isn't it?
It is a wolf run.
Right, so no real reason to play the Temple Garden untapped there. Charles mulching looking to hit on burial rights, and unfortunately doesn't get there.
Puts a Thragtusk into his graveyard.
And a Chromatic Lantern.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're looking
it's
pretty
looking
bad
grim
for Charles here.
Even with that 2 extra life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might be the end pretty soon here.
I think his only line is Flashback Lingering Souls.
Yep.
And
start
die
chumping
on the swing. Because with that Wolf Run in play, it's going to make chumping pretty hard.
Charles just played an untapped Temple Garden, took 2, and then decided against it. Yeah, flashing back that Lingering Souls is really his only play.
Yep.
And if I were Dillon here, I would probably just attack with everything, Wolf Run something, then pass and flip my Huntmaster for the last.
I think a Wolf Run might be lethal.
It's lethal.
It would be lethal. Let's see, how much damage do we have here? We have 7 on board and then 3 more?
8 on board. There's a Locksmith Smiter,
okay,
Huntmaster,
you're right.
and a 2/2.
9, actually.
9 and an elf. Yeah,
yep.
So that's easily lethal. Yeah, because the
Wolf Run will push through an extra.
And the Wolf Run.
Yep. So Wolf Run my big guy.
And that's it.
They pack it up. All right.
All right. Congratulations to Dillon Day taking it down with his aggressive Naya deck.
Absolutely.